How you doing, Brian? Just read your post, and on your post, you're saying that you feel conflicted, confused, and ostracized when it comes to race issues and the way you view America. I read your post several times, and I can share with you, as a man, probably about maybe about 20, 25 years ago, I felt the same way, brother. What you're dealing with right now, and I might be wrong, I frequently am, but let's let's examine some of the facts. What you're dealing with is called cognitive dissonance. And what cognitive dissonance is, it's when your brain has to wrestle with two opposing ideas at the same time. I'm gonna be real with you, brother. The fact that you even dealing with this speaks to the fact that you're an intelligent man. You see, most people, 90% of the population, they can't even deal with cognitive dissonance because their brain will not allow them to hold two opposing views at the same time. So they simply just toss one and don't even pay attention to it. But let me get a little bit deeper into this to explain to you exactly what I mean about cognitive dissonance. You said over here that, am I wrong? Were my parents wrong when they told me as a black man that I could be anything, I could do anything, that the sky is the limit in America? The answer to that question is no. Your parents were not wrong. Now, what they may have not done was give you the entire picture. Yes, as a black man, you have the opportunity to achieve anything that you want to achieve. Short of a few things like, I doubt you'll ever get patched into the Hells Angels. But other than that and a couple of other things, you can pretty much do what you want to do in America as a black man. But now what your parents might have failed to tell you is this. And when I do a lot of motivational speaking. The first thing I tell high school and junior high people is this. Understand that life is not fair. Period. Point blank. Life is not fair. As a black man, you're going to have to run 150 yards to get credit for 100. Let me repeat that. On your job, whatever, 99.9% of the time, you are going to have to get used to running 150 yards in order to get credit for 100. That's life. That is a fact. That is simply the way it is. Now, is that because all white people or people of other races on a conscious level look at black men and say, you know what, I'm going to discriminate against this black male? No. It's even worse and it's even deeper ingrained. It's their subconscious. On a subconscious level. You have other races that, number one, they are afraid of us. That's why they kill us like dogs in the street. Because when that white cop pulls up, like you look at me, on a 200-pound black man, he sees an elevated threat. It's subconscious. It's something that's ingrained in society. Let's look at it from a positive standpoint. If you got me and a white dude standing next to the basketball court, and they picking sides, and it's just me and this white dude left, and it's $1,000 on the line, and they don't know me, they don't know the white dude. They just see me standing there, they see the white dude standing there. Both of us about the same height, about the same size. Who do you think that they gonna pick to try to win that $1,000? They gonna assume, okay, this is a black dude. He probably can play some basketball. And in my case, you would be 100% incorrect. I'm here to tell you. Now, you want to get in a boxing match? You got the right man. You want to shoot some basketball? But society subconsciously tells them black men are athletic, black men can play sports, also black men are violent, also black men are oversexed. So even though I don't think that most white people deliberately and consciously discriminate against blacks, I do believe that there's a large majority of white folks who unconsciously discriminate against blacks. And guess who else discriminated against blacks? Other blacks. Other blacks see a group of young black males with dreads in their head walking down the street and cross to the other side. You don't know, these dudes might be on the debate club at Harvard. But you see these dudes, you see 6, 7 black dudes walking down the sidewalk, white t-shirts, dreads. What do we assume? Drug dealers, gangbangers, which could be the farthest thing from the truth. So not only do we have to deal with other races stereotyping black men, we have to deal with our own race stereotyping black men. Okay, now that we have established that life is not fair, next step is, okay, so what are you going to do about it? The first thing that we as black men need to realize about white people is this. White people run the world for a reason. I want you to think about that. White people run the world for a reason. They run the world because they are willing to assume power by any means necessary. Has history not borne that out? Okay, so you need to understand from a race standpoint who you're dealing with. They are a race of people. There may be individuals who are different, but as a race, you study your history books, white people are willing to assume power by any means necessary. Nobody gave white people anything. Let me repeat that. Nobody gave white people anything. They went out and took it. Okay? Now that you understand and accept that, the next step you need to think about is, Okay, if nobody ever gave white people anything other than other white people, why are they going to give you what they had to fight, steal, kill, whatever you want to call it, whatever they had to do, call it manifest destiny, whatever. We're going to kill these Indians and take all the land. So they went through all of that. They spilled all the blood. They spilled the Indians' blood. They spilled their blood. They spilled African blood. They done went through all of this sacrifice. And here we come as black folk. Well, you know, what you did really wasn't fair. Okay, do you think that when they were killing the Indians, that they didn't realize that that wasn't fair? Do you think when they were killing black folks, had us in slavery, hanging from trees, what they call strange fruit, raping our women and raping our men, do you think that it never dawned on them that this is not fair? They made a calculated decision. This is what it's going to take for us to become a master race. They made a calculated decision. Not only did they make a decision, they were willing to die to make sure that that manifest destiny took place. Not only were they willing to die, they were willing to kill to make sure that that manifest destiny took place. And then, you know, you'll have, you know, us as black people, well, white people, some people gave them things, because if you look at the Oklahoma Sooners, if people go back in history and find out what that was about if you left where you were and went to Oklahoma and you got there sooner than the next man, you got free land. I'm talking about hundreds and thousands of acres of free land. Like black folk was supposed to get 40 acres and a mule. Well, white families actually did get 40 acres. I don't know if they actually got the mule, but they got the acreage. That's a fact, and that's history. But who gave it to them? The Indians? No. Other white people gave it to them. And why did they give it to them? Because they needed, quote unquote, boots on the ground. They needed families to move on to this land so that they could keep this land. Now, why did I go into all of this? Is it because I got a problem with white folks? No. If I do have a problem with white folks, then my son-in-law need to bring my daughter and my grandkids on back here to Texas. So trust me when I tell you, I don't have no problem with white folks, but I do understand reality. Now, part of this cognitive dissonance that you're dealing with is, yes, you have every opportunity on the earth that any other person has on the earth. Along with that, you're going to have to realize that you as a black man in America, you're going to have additional challenges that a white man is not going to have to deal with. That is a fact. For example, I run an insurance agency. I own the agency. I'm the man, right? But guess what? There are houses that I go to where you got Buck and Jeff come to the door, and I can see it in their face. Ain't no black man gonna sell me no insurance. I'm not going to sit down here and explain to this black man what's going on with my finances. They don't come out and say it, but I've been in the game long enough to see it. Okay, that's not fair. So remember I told you earlier, life ain't fair. So now my next step is I got to figure out, well, what do I do about that? What do I do about it? I send, if they want a white agent, I call one of my agents and send the white agent over there. If you only deal with Hispanics, I'm here in El Paso. If you only deal with a Hispanic and a black man showing up at your door, you don't want to talk, no problem. I own the agency. I'm just going to send a Hispanic agent over there to make you feel comfortable. And when you write that check, I'm going to get paid anyway. Now, I could sit back and complain. It's not fair that I should have to send a white agent to this person's house to make them feel comfortable. Okay, maybe it's not. It's not fair that I should have to send a Hispanic person over to this house to make this couple feel comfortable and be willing to write a check. Okay, maybe it's not fair. But but we agreed in the beginning, right, that life is not fair. So if that's what it takes, if it take me sending a white person to this person's house, if it take me sending a Hispanic person to this person's house to make them feel comfortable, then guess what I'm going to do as a business owner? I'm going to send you exactly what you need to feel comfortable. I'm willing to do what it takes to become your insurance agent by any means necessary. You see, until you get to the point in life that any means necessary don't necessarily mean you got to go out and rape and pillage and kill and all of that. It doesn't. I'm successful without doing any of that. But it means that you have to figure out a way to accomplish whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. And it's not always going to be fair. And that's the problem with a lot of my folks, a lot of black people. They sitting back waiting for life to be fair. Okay, guess what? You done had 400 years and it ain't fair yet. So if you are not going to be successful until everything is equal, then you might be in for a wait. On the other hand, if you develop the attitude of by any means necessary, then guess what? You can't be stopped, bro. You're right. Your parents told you the truth. You can do anything if you're willing to achieve by any means necessary. If you're willing to line up next to that white guy, and when they say go, you realize that he only gonna have to run 100 yards, but you're gonna have to run 110 or 130 or 150. You know that when you take off from the line. In order to get credit for the 100 that he run, you're gonna have to run 150. So, if you know that from day one, what does that tell you you need to do? You need to train and be willing to work so hard, be able to run so fast, that even with your competition only running 100 yards, that you can run 150 faster than they can run 100. And let me tell you what that type of attitude does. I remember one day about 3 years ago, probably around the time I was getting ready to retire from the military, I looked at my, what is that? LinkedIn For those of you all don't know, LinkedIn is a professional profile that you put out there, and anybody wants to say, well, who's Emerson Hazard? You know, what is this dude about as far as business? They can click on that and boom, my history shows up, everything. So one day I just sat down and I looked at my LinkedIn profile. And I had to say, wow, really? You have done all of this in your life. And then it dawned on me. You know why you've done all of that, brother? Because you've had to run 150 yards to get credit for 100. I spent 31 and a half years in the military. So starting from the age of 17, I had to start running 150 yards for every 100 yards of some other people who I had to compete with. And let me give you a prime example so people understand. When I was about 20, I walked into the commander's office. I said, sir, I don't understand this. I've been here 3 years. I'm still a specialist. This was back in the South Carolina Army National Guard, good old Deep South. I said, sir, the militant midget that I was back then, I said, sir, I don't understand how this white dude just shows up 18 months later, he at E5. I've been here for 3 years. I'm still a specialist. The commander put a chaw in his mouth, spit in his bottle. He said, well, boy, old Charlie over there has been to this training. Have you gone to that training? No, sir. Old Charlie over there took this course. Did you take that course? No, sir. Well, that might be why old Charlie's a E5 and you still a E4. So I walked out of the office, my head down. You know, the commander's right. Old Charlie's taken this course. He's done this. He's done that. I haven't done none of that. And then halfway home, it hit me. How the hell did Charlie know about that? I never knew about them courses. I never knew about that training. Nobody called me to the corner to say, hey, Emerson, let's take this class, take this course. Nobody mentored me. You see what I'm saying about life ain't fair? Now, from the time old Charlie returned from AIT, they had their arm around Charlie's shoulder. Charlie, we gonna have you be an E5 in about 18 months. I need you to go over here and do this. I need you to take this course. I need you to take that course. I show up to work. Oh, Emerson is going over there and fix a couple of them radars for us. You're doing a good job, son. You're doing a good job. No mention of taking no additional courses. No mention of taking no additional, none of that. That's that extra 150 yards that extra 50 yards I learned I had to run, because where they're gonna call old Charlie over to the corner, they're not gonna call me to the corner. So what does that mean? That means not only do I have to do my job, but I also got to do their job, which is supposed to mentor me. I got to mentor myself. I got to find out, okay, what is it gonna take for me to get promoted? What classes do I need? Blase, 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 blase. Is that fair? No. But we already agreed that what? Life ain't fair. So if you're willing to do that, sky is the limit. I got out of the military. What do most people do when they get out of the military? Go find them a job. Leave one plantation, move into the next. What did I do when I got out of the military? Started getting educated, earned my PhD, opened up my own businesses. Why? Because see, when you open your own business, you step in the door as the CEO. You walk in the door as the president. So instead of starting at the bottom and waiting for somebody to appreciate your skills and offer you a promotion, if you wish to, if you're willing to go through the frustration that it takes to learn what you're not going to learn in a textbook, because you're only going to learn it out here in the world battling, fighting, hustling to build your own business. Now, I'm the man. I have no boss. I make as much money as what I'm worth, as much as I can figure out, as many problems as I can solve. I get the lion's share of the money. Why? Because I built the business. Now, how do you think that changed my perspective on white people? Why do they make the money? They built the business. I started my insurance company out of my garage. I'm talking to you right now. It's what? 2 o'clock in the morning? You know why? Because I've been up at 2 o'clock in the morning for the last 2-3 years, brother. I'm going to say this and I'm going to let you go. About 2 o'clock in the morning, I was at my office in Coronado Tower here in El Paso, Texas. Coronado Tower is one of the most beautiful buildings in El Paso. I had an office up near the top of the building. It's about 2 in the morning. I ran into a Jewish guy. And I looked at him and I laughed and I said, huh, so you a workaholic too? He looked at me and smiled. He said, Emerson, it's no such thing as workaholics. This is the price of success. But most people, they're asleep at this time, so they never see it. So I'm going to leave you with this, brother. If you're willing to pay that price, if you're willing to lose sleep, if you're willing to be frustrated, if you're willing to accept the fact that life is not fair, if you're willing to achieve by any means necessary, and I ain't talking about raping, killing, and cutting nobody's throat. That ain't necessary. I don't do none of that. But if you're willing to figure out a way to achieve anyway, yes, the American dream is just as much for you as it is for anybody else. And if you're not willing to do that, ain't nobody gonna carry you, black boy. And ain't nobody gonna carry me. The only thing we're gonna do is sit on the sidelines and watch people like Donald Trump, who dad wrote him a check for $1 million, a small check to help him get started, rule the world. So I'm here at 2 o'clock in the morning talking to you, brother, because I love you. Number one. Number two, because I understand your frustration, because I've been there. But if you want to see what that frustration can and should turn into, look at Emerson Hazard LinkedIn profile. Let's sit down and talk. God bless you. Good night.